Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Q News. I'm Henny Saif. We begin our bulletin today with developments from Singapore, where economic momentum, regional diplomacy and major infrastructure projects are shaping headlines. From strong growth figures to deepening international partnerships, Singapore continues to position itself as a key player on the global stage. The head of Egypt's Suez Canal Economic Zone has met with Singapore's ambassador to Cairo to explore deeper economic cooperation and port development initiatives. Suez Canal Zone Chairperson Walid Gameluddin held talks with Singapore's ambassador Dominic Goh at the zone's headquarters in Egypt's new administrative capital. The meeting focused on investment opportunities in industrial zones and seaports. Gameluddin highlighted cooperation with Singapore Cooperation Enterprise to apply smart port technology as part of the Suez Canal Zone's digital transformation plans, aiming to boost efficiency and global market connectivity. Today we turn our attention to an inspiring story of international friendship and cooperation that crosses continents and cultures, the evolving and increasingly robust relationship between Egypt and Singapore. Though these two countries are geographically distant, they share a common vision for progress, innovation and sustainable development. Their partnership highlights how nations can come together, learn from each other's experiences and build bridges that foster economic growth, cultural understanding and mutual prosperity. Singapore, often hailed as a modern miracle in the global economic landscape, has charted a remarkable course over the past several decades. Once a small, resource-limited port city, Singapore has transformed into a vibrant, dynamic hub of commerce, technology and finance. This transformation did not happen by chance. It was the product of visionary leadership, pragmatic policies, and relentless commitment to excellence and innovation. Today, Singapore ranks consistently among the world's most competitive economies and is renowned for its transparency, efficiency, and strong rule of law. These achievements have naturally attracted Egypt's attention and admiration. Egypt, with its rich history and strategic location, bridging Africa and the Middle East, is embarking on its own ambitious path of modernization and economic diversification. Recognizing the value of Singapore's experiences and expertise, Egypt and Singapore have deepened their bilateral relations in many important areas. From economic partnerships to educational exchanges, their cooperation offers a blueprint for how countries can complement each other's strengths. One of the most significant aspects of this relationship is the growing trade and investment ties between the two countries. Singapore's strategic position as a global trading hub enables it to serve as a gateway for Egyptian products and services into Southeast Asia, a rapidly growing market with immense potential. Conversely, Singaporean companies benefit from Egypt's large consumer base and its expanding infrastructure projects. This exchange is not merely transactional, it fosters long-term business relationships, joint ventures, and knowledge sharing, enhancing economic resilience on both sides. Beyond commerce, Singapore's expertise in urban planning, smart city development, and digital innovation has proven invaluable to Egypt, especially as the country undertakes groundbreaking projects such as the development of the new administrative capital and other large-scale urban initiatives. Singapore's experience in building sustainable, efficient, and inclusive cities offers Egypt important lessons on integrating technology with governance and infrastructure to improve the quality of life for its citizens. Educational cooperation is another pillar of the Egypt-Singapore partnership. Many Egyptian students and professionals have had the opportunity to study in Singapore's prestigious institutions, gaining exposure to cutting-edge research, technology, and global perspectives. These academic exchanges create a vibrant pipeline of talent and foster a deeper cultural understanding between the two peoples. In turn, joint research collaborations and scholarships contribute to innovation and knowledge that benefit both nations. Singapore's multicultural society, built on principles of harmony, tolerance, and inclusiveness, also resonates strongly with Egypt, a country known for its diverse heritage and cultural richness. This shared value of social cohesion underpins many people-to-people exchanges and cultural programs, further strengthening the ties between Egyptians and Singaporeans. In essence, the relationship between Egypt and Singapore is a shining example of how international cooperation can transcend borders and cultural differences. Singapore's inspiring development story offers valuable insights and best practices that can support Egypt's vision for growth and modernization. Meanwhile, Egypt's historical legacy and strategic position create opportunities for Singapore to expand its reach and contribute meaningfully to the region. Looking forward, the prospects for this partnership remain bright and full of promise. Both countries continue to explore new areas of collaboration, including innovation in sustainability, renewable energy, and digital economies. By working together, Egypt and Singapore not only enhance their national capabilities, but also contribute to regional stability and prosperity. As we reflect on the successes of this bilateral relationship, it becomes clear that partnerships founded on mutual respect, shared goals, and a commitment to learning from one another are key drivers of global progress in the 21st century. The story of Egypt and Singapore reminds us that distance is no barrier to cooperation, and that with vision and goodwill, nations can build lasting friendships that benefit generations to come. Singapore's central bank is widely expected to keep monetary policy unchanged this week as global uncertainties weigh on the trade-reliant economy. 14 of 19 economists surveyed by Bloomberg predict that the Monetary Authority of Singapore, also known as MAS, will hold its current policy on July 31st. The MAS had eased policy earlier this year to its most accommodative level in 5 years, while some expect further easing due to external risks. Others cite strong second-quarter growth and stable inflation as reasons for a policy hold. The MAS uses the Singapore dollar's exchange rate, not interest rates, as its main monetary tool, allowing better response to imported inflation and global shocks. Singapore's Banking Association has rolled out 2 new electronic payment options to help phase out cheque use across the country. The Association of Banks in Singapore has launched the EDP and EDP Plus, 2 new digital payment tools aimed at replacing cheques for businesses and individuals. The rollout follows a joint plan with the central bank to phase out corporate cheques, with support from 7 major banks, including DBS, OCBC, and UOB. The new solutions replicate the deferred payment feature of cheques, helping users shift to faster, more secure transactions. Singapore's Prime Minister says that more must be done to help small businesses adopt artificial intelligence and integrate it meaningfully into work processes. Prime Minister Lawrence Wong says Singapore should help businesses, especially smaller ones, embrace artificial intelligence more effectively. Speaking at an IPS and SBF conference, he urged caution against rushing into AI use, stressing the need to redesign jobs and retrain workers. Wong added that while AI has great potential, it remains underutilized. He said Singapore's compact size allows for a tailored company-by-company approach to adoption and transformation. Singapore's internal security department says terror threats remain high as extremist ideologies spread online, targeting youth. Singapore's 2025 terrorism threat report warns of growing radicalization via online platforms, fueled by global conflicts like Gaza and the misuse of AI. The Internal Security Department says 8 self-radicalized individuals were detained in the past year, including teenagers. Authorities say platforms such as WhatsApp, Telegram, YouTube and gaming apps are being exploited to spread extremist content. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll now hand you over to Head Al-Hamelawi for an exclusive interview with His Excellency Dominic Goh, Singapore's ambassador to Egypt. Since his appointment in 2019, Ambassador Goh has been instrumental in advancing bilateral cooperation across trade, technology and regional development. In this conversation, we will delve into the evolving partnership between Egypt and Singapore and the shared vision driving it forward. Hela, over to you.
Thank you so much, Hani. It's an honor to welcome His Excellency Ambassador Dominic Goh, Singapore's ambassador to Egypt, a seasoned diplomat with over 3 decades of experience. Ambassador Goh has been at the forefront of strengthening Singapore's ties with Egypt since 2019. Under his leadership, cooperation between the two nations has deepened across strategic sectors, including, of course, trade, infrastructure, technology and humanitarian efforts as well. We're delighted to have him with us today for an in-depth conversation on the future of this dynamic partnership. But first, let's have a closer look at Ambassador Goh's career, which reflects a deep commitment to international engagement and regional collaboration. Your Excellency, it's a pleasure to have you with us here on Qnews. Of course, we're very honored to have you with us today. And I'd like to know from you more about Singapore and Egyptian-Singapore ties. So I would like to ask you, how do you assess the cultural level between, and of course, the diplomatic and economic level of relations between Egypt and Singapore?
Thank you, Hala, for having me this afternoon.
First, let me say that this interview is quite timely because Singapore's National Day is actually next week on the 9th of August. And this year we celebrate 60 years of our independence. So this is a very timely interview, and in terms of our relationship, the relationship is strong and across all areas, and in particular we are trying to develop relations in the economic and the people-to-people sector. Yes. So in terms of economy, Singapore is the 5th largest investor from Asia, with nearly $800 million of investments in Egypt, and many companies, including in logistics, ports, port management, industrial plastics, agriculture, and IT, and so on.
Okay,
yes.
So in terms of trade and investment, what specific sectors do you believe hold the most promising or increased opportunities for Singapore's presence in Egypt?
Well, I think given Egypt's good location, strategic location with the Suez Canal and between Asia, Europe, and Africa, I think Egypt is in a perfect location for manufacturing investments. So companies from Singapore can set up manufacturing operations in Egypt. In fact, companies from around the world can set up manufacturing operations in Egypt to access Africa, Europe, and Asian markets. And this is especially so given your, low cost of labor, low cost of land and energy, and good connections to all these other countries.
If I may add, if you allow me, also Egypt improved its investment climate by launching several investment laws. How is this attractive to businessmen in Singapore?
Yes, I think the developments are still new in terms of the reforms. So I think what we need to do is that we need to make these reforms more well known among the Singapore business community in general, and in fact among the Asian business community in general. Because we in Asia, it's not so natural for us to look to Africa and to Egypt. So I think we need to make a stronger effort to make all these developments, the reforms, well known in our region. And I think we are making some progress, because this year, in fact, next month, we will have the 2nd Africa-Singapore Business Forum in Singapore. And this will be attended by GAFI Chairman Dr. Hossam Heba, where he will give a briefing to Singapore companies attending this conference on the developments and reforms here. So I think this will be a good first step. And I'm planning also to have a business delegation coming to Egypt later this year.
Excellent news.
Yes.
Excellent news. Now let's move to the regional issues. Now Egypt, of course, plays a leading role when it comes to regional issues and crises. If we're talking about Gaza in particular, Egypt plays a leading role in peace efforts and humanitarian efforts as well. I want to know Singapore's view regarding Egypt's efforts in the region, particularly in Gaza.
First, let me say that what happened in Gaza is a great tragedy, and we are following it with great concern in Singapore. We find that Egypt's role is playing a key role in mediating and trying to find a solution for a ceasefire. And I think we should all be working in this direction. In fact, Singapore has called many times for an immediate ceasefire, and Singapore strongly supports the two-state solution as the only way to have a viable peace between Israel and the Palestinians.
So from here, Singapore maintains a traditionally balanced, if we may say, balanced approach towards diplomacy on the Middle East. But the question of Palestinian statehood, how do you view it, an independent statehood or the two-state solution that Egypt is also calling for?
Yes, in fact, as I have said, that Singapore has supported all relevant United Nations resolutions on the two-state solution. We have called for, the withdrawal of Israeli troops and ending the occupation since 1967. We have consistently called for the two-state solution. Our Minister of Foreign Affairs recently voted in favor of admitting Palestine as a member of the United Nations. On the issue of recognizing Palestine, Singapore is still considering this issue, and we will make our decision at an appropriate time on this subject.
Egypt has constantly warned of the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, Your Excellency, and coordinated closely with the United Nations in this regard. But I want to know from you, could Singapore, as a global logistics hub, play a particular role in this regard?
Well, I think in terms of Singapore's role in the humanitarian effort, I think we have played a big role In fact, Singapore, even though we are a very small country, we are one of the biggest donors of humanitarian assistance to Gaza. And since the beginning of the war until now, we have contributed more than $15 million worth of aid to Gaza, including what you saw on TV just now, the airlift of humanitarian assistance and various other donations. In fact, as we are talking now, the Singapore Red Cross is discussing with Egyptian Red Crescent on further needs of the Palestinians so that the Singapore Red Cross can help to fulfill those needs.
Ambassador Goh, does Singapore see some sort of role for deeper coordination with Egypt within international platforms such as the United Nations, the World Trade Organization, the African Union, or the ASEAN?
Yes, in fact, firstly, Singapore welcomed the accession of Egypt to the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in ASEAN back in 2016. In fact, I was present at this summit where the accession was done. And in fact, we are working very closely in the UN, in WTO, in the COP, for example. In many other areas, we support each other on many votes, you know, in the United Nations, in the WTO, and so on. So I think we are working very closely, and of course, there's always room to improve further. Yes.
Given Singapore's long-standing position as a maritime hub, and of course, it's a very important trade hub. Now, how does the embassy view potential opportunities between Singapore and Egypt when it comes to port systems? And you have recently met with Mr. Walid Gemaluddin, and you discussed various issues. So I want to know more from you about this meeting and the potential of extending relations in this regard.
Yes, definitely. In fact, we have been working very closely in the port sector, with the Egyptian port sector. And I personally have met Mr. Walid Gemaluddin many, many times. So we are moving on certain cooperation projects. I cannot reveal them right now, but these will be significant cooperation projects, and we hope that we can announce them very soon.
But was there a particular major outcome from this meeting that you would like to share with us here on Qnews?
Well, actually, this meeting was to discuss, you know, further developments in this area. So there's at this point no major announcement yet.
Okay, so
but very soon we will make.
We
some
will
announcements.
be.
Yes.
Will it be exclusive to us?
I hope so.
Hopefully, okay. Now, as global attention, of course, shifts to climate adaptation, climate change, clean energy, green energy, what opportunities exist between Egypt and Singapore in this regard?
Well, I think we are working very closely, as I've said, with Egypt in the COP process and in the climate change process. So our Minister of Environment attended the COP27 in Egypt, in Sharm el-Sheikh, and it was actually an eye-opener for me, because it was, for me, the first time that I had attended a COP. And I think the developments there are quite promising. So while I noted that the government-to-government cooperation in COP is a bit slow because of the lengthy negotiations that have to be done, however, I noticed that on the side of COP, there are many technological solutions that entrepreneurs and businessmen are coming up with, and I think this will be the solution for the climate change crisis. In terms of cooperation between Egypt and Singapore, I think there are many areas that we can work on, and I think one area is possibly carbon credits exchange. Another area is maybe we can, join this net zero alliance and make our own commitments to the net zero process. And of course, definitely we can also cooperate in the area of green energy and renewable energy. I think Egypt is very blessed. I think in the past you would not say Egypt is blessed with many deserts, but now Egypt is blessed with many deserts from which you can produce solar energy and wind energy. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity that we should work together to help to reduce the carbon dioxide emissions in the world.
Of course, yes. And how do you view Egypt's growing role in African climate diplomacy, since we're speaking about this issue now?
Well, I think Egypt is playing a major role in this. In fact, Egypt opened your voluntary carbon market recently, probably late last year or early this year. And I think this will have a catalyzing effect on the African market in terms of carbon credits. And I think carbon credits is a great way to incentivize companies, you know, in order to reduce carbon emissions. Because it places a monetary value on carbon emissions, and you know, if you tax companies based on the amount of emissions that they emit, then there is an incentive for them to cut back. And I think it's in a way a win-win. It was a win-win for the society, for the carbon catastrophe in general. It's also a win for governments in that you get more taxes and revenue from the companies. And in a way, it's a win for the companies because it forces them to be more efficient in their production.
This is an interesting way to view it from a win-win perspective,
yes,
of course.
And of course, you know, in this world, everything is self-interest and economic interest. And if you place this economic value on carbon, then there is an incentive for everyone to work towards it.
Definitely.
Yes.
Now, Your Excellency, we've talked about politics, economy, trade, investment, climate, and I want to know from you more about culture. Now, Singapore has a rich cultural heritage, so of course is Egypt. And how do you view cultural exchange, people to people? I'm talking here not government, not official level, I'm talking people to people. How can the people in Singapore know more about Egypt and its culture through the embassy and through the programs offered by the embassy, and of course the other way around? How can Egypt introduce its culture to Singapore?
Yes, in fact, when I was in school, we learned about Egypt, you know. Of course, everybody learns about Egypt in school. And so I was always fascinated about the pyramids and the Sphinx, and even, you know, in comics you read about the Sphinx and the pyramids and so on. So I think it's something that everybody knows as a part of general knowledge, you know, this rich history of Egypt. So I think many Singapore people want to visit Egypt, and it is like a life's goal to visit Egypt, to see the pyramids and to see the Sphinx and to see the great temples along the Nile. So I think Egypt sells itself. Right?
Wow, that's an interesting statement.
Egypt sells itself.
That's a very interesting statement.
Yes.
And I didn't know that the students in Singapore actually study ancient Egyptian history, so they know about Egypt's history. That's very interesting.
Yes, in fact. And the other thing that we are helping is that a Singapore company, in fact, has an agreement with the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities to bring an exhibition of Ramses the Great around the world. So they have already brought it to Houston, to San Francisco, to London, to Paris, to Germany. Now the exhibition is in Tokyo. It will go, it went to Sydney first, then now it's in Tokyo. And we hope that this exhibition, well, firstly, it's a Singapore company helping to promote Egypt around the world, to all these major tourism markets of Egypt. And we hope that in time this exhibition will go to Singapore as well. I'm working on this company to bring it to Singapore so that the people in Asia get to see all the treasures of Ramses and it makes them desire to want to come to Egypt more.
Okay. Looking forward to come to Egypt.
Yes.
Wow. But I want to know from you, apart from the pyramids and ancient Egyptian history, which is very rich, of course, you've been here in Egypt since 2019, so you've experienced the Egyptian culture, which is a melange, if we may say, from various civilizations and effects and influence. Many things influence the Egyptian history and culture and heritage, including, of course, the Islamic, the Coptic, and so on. Tell me more about your experience here in Egypt from a cultural point of view that you would like to convey to your people in Singapore.
Well, I think the people in Egypt are very friendly, and I've had no negative experiences all this while I have been in Egypt. In fact, in terms of safety, and security, I feel very safe and secure in Egypt. And you know, you hear of shootings and stabbings of people in other parts in Europe, in America, but in Egypt this doesn't happen. It's a very rare thing that such crimes happen in Egypt. So I think Egypt is very safe. And this is the main message that I would want to give to people back home in Singapore. And I would say also that people in Egypt, you know, you hear about bad news all around the region, but Egypt is safe, Egypt is stable, people are good and friendly, the food is good, and there's so much to see and to do here. In fact, in 5 years, I still have, there's still more things that I want to do here.
Wow.
Yes.
Back again to the very interesting piece of news that we've been reading, that you met with Mr. Walid Gamaluddin and the Suez Canal Authority. Now, of course, Singapore has huge experience when it comes to ports and port technology. How can Singapore share with Egypt its expertise in this regard, especially when it comes to the Suez Canal?
Yes, in fact, as I've said, we have been working very closely with the Maritime Ports Authority in Egypt, Maritime Transport Authority. And in fact, the Singapore Ministry of Transport and also our Maritime Port Authority in Singapore, we have been giving courses to Egyptian officials, port managers, and so on, in areas like port management, logistics, and we give this course to the Egyptian side every year. So every year there are maybe 3 or 4 Egyptian port officials going to Singapore for training. And this is how we help to share the knowledge with Egypt. In fact, and also the announcement that I mentioned, that we are talking with SC Zone and Mr. Walid Gamaluddin. This is also in the area of port technology and sharing of experience, and we hope this will also help Egypt to advance further in this field.
Well, in addition to port technology, another question popped into my head when I read about this meeting. It's about economic opportunities in this regard. Tell me more about it.
Well, of course, you know, Egypt is a transit hub between Asia and Europe, between Africa and Asia, and so on. And so there are many areas of potential cooperation in terms of maritime ports, you know, transfer of goods, containers, terminals, making the logistics go faster, you know, so all these areas. And that's why our companies are very active in this field and looking to come in more in this area.
So how can Singapore actually share with Egypt its digital transformation experience, not only with regards to the Suez Canal zone, but also seaports in general? Egypt has so many seaports, so how can this be achieved on the ground?
Well, I think what we need to do is that we need to make one successful project, and if that project works, then we can replicate it to all the other ports in Egypt. Yes.
What benefits do you foresee when it comes to cooperation and trade cooperation between Egypt and Singapore in the upcoming period?
Well, I think the main thing is the business delegation that I mentioned, and as well as the Africa-Singapore Business Forum. I think these two major projects will help to promote more trade and more investments between our two countries. And I think we at the embassy, and of course the Egyptian government, GAFI, Ministry of Foreign Trade and Investments, we are working very hard to make this a success and to hope to promote more in trade between our two countries.
Is there a pilot project in this regard? Would you share with us if there is a pilot project in this regard?
I cannot share, yes, this is the secret.
This is top secret? Okay, let's talk about the field in general. Which field, which sector, without specification?
Well, let's say it's in the port sector.
It's in the port sector.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, are there plans for any future projects away from trade and port sector with Egypt in the upcoming period?
Well, there are several projects on the table, and we are hoping to announce them soon.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to talk more about tourism. How can you promote Egypt's touristic destination to your people in Singapore?
How can I? Well, you know, the embassy has a very active Facebook page, so whenever I see something interesting, I put it on the embassy page so that people in Singapore know about it.
That's interesting.
But apart from that, I think this exhibition of the Ramses will, when it goes to Singapore, will be a great thing, and it will really boost tourism, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yes.
How would you describe the evolution of Singapore Egypt relations in the current period?
Well, I think we hit a bad patch during the revolution time and then also during COVID. So things were, getting better, and then revolution, and then things were getting better, and then COVID. But I think since COVID, I've seen very positive developments, and there's growing interest of our companies to come here. There's also growing interest of our students and our tourists to come to Egypt. So I think there's great potential, and we can work on this and build on this further.
Okay, looking ahead,
yes.
How do you foresee Egypt-Singapore relations in the upcoming period when it comes to the economy, the trade, the culture? How would this boost in bilateral relations be shaped in the upcoming period, take another level?
Well, you see, as I said, this year is the 60th anniversary of Singapore's independence. Next year will be the 60th anniversary of Singapore-Egypt relationship.
Yes.
And so we are planning to have some announcements and high-level visits during this year and next year. And I'm sure these high-level visits will help to promote new projects and to boost the cooperation in all areas. Economy, students, academics, other areas of cooperation.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Dominic Goh, we would like to extend our deep appreciation. Thank you so much for coming to Qnews and sharing with us these valuable thoughts about Egypt-Singapore relations, and we're looking forward to meeting with you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I'm very honored to be here with Qnews and to have this very nice and friendly interview.
Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, this was His Excellency Ambassador Dominic Goh, Singapore's ambassador to Egypt. And I believe by now you learn more about Egypt-Singapore relations. But now we go back to Hani Saif in our newsroom. To you, Hani.
Thank you, Hela. Ladies and gentlemen, by this interview, we come to the end of this bulletin for the hour. But please don't forget to follow Qnews on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram and TikTok at Qnews EGY to stay informed. I'm Hani Saif. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more updates coming up here on Qnews.